Hello, guys. How is everybody doing today? Let me pop out the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. We are doing a critique hour today, so we'll be talking about some art. Excuse me. Let me send this notification to my Discord users as well. Live now. Okay. So I'm just waiting for everybody to hop in. Usually I play music, but because YouTube copyrights most of the music that I play, I can't actually play any music. While we wait, usually I do though, just as I wait for everyone to hop in. Because it's a class, I kind of gotta wait for people to flood in before I get started. Not that there's any flooding, because this is a new channel and people are still discovering me. I still gotta spruce up the channel a little bit as well. It feels like the channel is just empty at the moment. There's not much, obviously there's not many videos yet, so I can't make any playlists yet. But as soon as things start to increase in volume and what I've published, I'll be able to start making playlists for you guys and organizing the content a little bit better. Hi, Oleg. I wonder if people will get any notifications for all the new subscribers. Did you happen to get a notification, Oleg? Hi, Filippo. You got the notification? That's cool. Did you get notifications on the old channel as well? Yeah? Okay, good. Hi, Pencil. Oh, okay, okay. That's cool. You guys are getting notifications? I'm happy. Wish that notifications went out for my old videos and my old channel, but it is what it is. Hello, Nebis. I'll probably get started in a couple of minutes. I'm just gonna give it a little more time. I'll be critiquing this piece and this piece today and talking about how to improve them. But before I get started, I have a couple of announcements. If anyone is interested in joining us for our Creature Design Challenge on my subreddit, go to istaback.com and click on the subreddit icon here. And if you want your work critiqued, if you want your artwork critiqued, you just have to go to istaback.com and click on the subreddit icon. And you can submit your work for critique here. This is where I selected the pieces today. That's all it takes. It's all free. There's no charge to join the streams. There's no charge to submit your work for critique. It's just a free online education resource that I run for artists who need feedback, for artists who need that kind of community. Also, my masterclass. I have a masterclass that I've built specifically for portraits, and it's really, really helpful for those who want to do the 14-day challenge as well. For those who don't know what the 14-day challenge is, you draw a portrait every day for 14 days, and you just get better at it. You get critiques in between each portrait that you draw, and that's really all that goes into it. And this masterclass is for all skill levels, so you don't have to be good at drawing going in. You don't have to be excellent at digital art going in. This can just be a beginner class as well. It can be taken as a beginner class because I start from scratch. I start from the sphere and go up from there, and it's on sale right now. So usually it's around just under $100 for the whole class. It's a very, very long class with many parts, but right now it's on sale at 50% off almost. So let's get started. I am going to take a look at this sketch first and talk about how to, sorry, my bird is on my shoulder. She needs to get off. So I wanted to talk about the anatomy and some of the portrait, some of the issues in the portrait that don't seem to work. And then for this one, we're going to talk about contrast and how to get rid of some of that excessive muddiness in the contrast. The shirt's too dark. Some areas go full black for no reason, even though the background is bright. It feels like you're using too much black. I understand you're drawing a darker skinned character, but it feels like you're doing just a bit too much considering the lighting that is on her face and then the background. So for this one, I understand that you're using ink and pencil and it's paper, but let's readjust. Let's do some surgery real quick on these facial features. I'll leave the distant eye alone since that one is going to be our reference. So right off the bat, I can see that this this face here is, you're trying to represent a perspective that is happening, yes, from a low angle, but you're also trying to show that it's happening vertically as well as horizontally. This means like the scale of the size of the eye is changing. It's not that skewed. It's not that intense a perspective. So to increase the size of the eye, imagine you got your phone camera and you brought it really close to your face. Okay, so everyone, I mean, you don't have to get your phone camera, but later you can experiment with it. So imagine this was your face and these were your eyes, and you brought your phone camera really close. The eye that's closest to the camera is going to be bigger than the eye that is furthest from the camera. This is because the camera is so close to one over the other, it has engaged in almost an environmental perspective, meaning like one building is really close to you and one building is far away. So why is that an issue with this drawing? Well, you've done that here. This eye is significantly bigger than this eye, which has skewed the perspective. I mean, it's not that big a perspective. The camera is the same distance from her elbow as it is from her collarbone and as it is from her face. We're not seeing that intense a perspective change in the camera for us to need to change the size of her eye. So that's the first thing that needs to get fixed, is the size of the eye needs to be brought pretty much equal, considering it's a 3/4 view, within the limits of a 3/4 view, pretty much equal to the rest of the face. Okay, so there's that. And then there is, I mean, I think everything else feels okay, but I would like to adjust the eyebrows. So when you're in a low angle, what happens is we start seeing the space of the eyebrows more, and the eyebrows end up getting closer to the forehead. So in order for the perspective of low angle to actually feel right, we have to distance the eyebrows from the eyes. The eyebrows are closer to the eyes in front view perspective. Write that back to me. In low angle perspective, the eyebrows are further away because we're seeing more of that space. All of these fundamentals I'm listing out can be confirmed with a simple look in the mirror. Just go in front of your mirror and test all of these changes. Get really close to the mirror, almost put your face on the mirror, and you can see how the distant eye is getting smaller, the front eye is getting skewed and much larger. And notice how, if equal distance from the mirror, your face has pretty much equal sizes in the eyes. And then tilt your head up, you'll see that your eyebrows get further from your eye as you tilt up. I actually discovered that in the mirror just by looking at my face. I'm like, oh, my ears are lower and my eyebrows are further from my eyes, which is really cool. By the way, on my stream, sometimes I say, write that back to me. That's because I am encouraging you to take notes, and to write something down actually helps you memorize it. And other issues I have with the face, I raise the eyebrows up. Other issues I have with the face is just what you're doing with the hairline. Even, I mean, usually in low angle perspective, meaning that the face of the character is taller than us or higher than us, we do have a lower forehead, but here it just feels like way lower than it needs to be. And this part of the eyebrow is just a little bit too much. the mouth isn't really showing a low angle perspective. That's because you're showing us the lower angle of the mouth, so the lower edge of the mouth, as if it's front view. In order for it to feel like it's a low angle perspective, we don't see the edge of the mouth as much. But if you want to keep that stylized pucker to the lips, you can do that. And the nostrils, you did that well. You kind of indented this nostril a little bit too much. It would just serve it to not show too much of those excessive edges. But again, that's some of those decisions are stylized and don't really require too much editing. We do need some elevation to the tip of the nose along the nose bridge, so it feels a bit like a piggy nose, meaning that there isn't much bridge in the nose. And we do that by sticking the bridge out just a little bit more, creating more of an indentation. And not showing off circular nostrils, but more of like a triangular nostril. Though different nostrils look different, some ethnicities have more of a circular shape to the nostril, so it's really up to you. So before, after, it just looked a bit wide for nostrils from low angle, and that length wasn't there for that vertical nostril shape, that triangular indication. So we're just getting rid of this general circular shape of the nostrils. And then finally, there's this line here. We would actually see some of that stuff disappear. We don't have to draw the full bridge, but we just need a little bit of that bridge visible. So we're deleting some because the bridge literally hides the nose when it's rotated. So do you guys want to see the before and after? Just small changes really, and they make big results. And then I'll add an expression, which is going to really complete this look. It's very kind of like a romantic fainting character. And so you can really put in a lot of that expression in there. So this is the before and after. Before, after, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see those proportion issues. Before, after. I hope that somehow you can erase these away. You probably can't because it's traditional work. How do you avoid these mistakes from happening? Because as you can see, when you make them, you make them. If it's traditional work, you're stuck. You're stuck with these issues. So you make them by using pencil marks that you can erase to organize where everything is going. You draw the vertical and horizontal symmetry lines, and those pretty much guide you around all of these changes today. We can see how the mouth actually, now that I drew these lines literally just reminded me that the mouth needs to be shifted over a little bit for that 3/4 view. It was a bit too much on the side. You can see that? And if you flip the canvas, you catch all of these issues immediately. Like now that I flipped the canvas, I can see that this nostril is too wide. It's not symmetric. It's not supposed to be symmetrical because in the 3/4 view, the far side is smaller every time. Okay, so lots of different changes just because we drew some or we followed the rules of these horizontal and vertical symmetry lines. And because one of the most essential things to remember is that you will not have a change in the size of the eye until the camera is a different distance from both eyes. Write that back. So the camera is not a different distance from both eyes of the face. It's the same distance between both eyes, meaning that both eyes are going to have the same size, unless you are deliberately trying to show that this character has two different sizes in the eyes. Okay, and then now I'm going to add that expression, and the expression can be a little bit romantic, a little bit sad. Really, it's up to you. I just want to add something. She looks a little bit too, like she doesn't have any problems in her life. Let's give her some problems. Let's give her some sadness. So one thing you could do is make her look a bit more like sensual, kind of seductive, and you can do that by raising the eyebrow. See what happens when you raise the eyebrow, especially if it's one eyebrow. It also adds curiousness. Here, to make it look like she's having deep thought, you can raise one eyebrow, or you can raise the inside of the eyebrow combined with the eyebrow arc and have a combined expression. So you can combine expressions as well. So, you know, before, after, before, after. There's so many different expressions you can pull off with just one eyebrow. It really does a lot for the scene. But if you want to give her that serene, problemless life, you can tell she doesn't pay any rent. You can just keep adding that just softer eyebrow arc to her face and keep that softness going. So before, after, just a little bit of extra expression. The neck feels very, very long. So these are changes that I can't really adjust with Transform tool. All I can really do is just use Liquify. These are not changes you can duplicate from traditional, unfortunately, but you can always try to duplicate them before you publish digitally. There's really no harm in that. If you want to make these changes before you publish it digitally, that's fine too. There's really no shame in it or anything like that. Drawing traditional and needing to adjust things digitally, a lot of artists do that. Sometimes you just make a mistake with ink and you just can't fix it, and who cares? Just make the adjustment digitally before you upload it on Instagram or anywhere else. It's not dishonest because it's still a correction you made. It's still art you created. So you can see before how long the neck felt, and the chest area felt like it wasn't the right size for her. Not her breasts, but her like whole torso felt like it was the wrong size. It didn't feel like it was really in proportion with her head. Her torso felt very small. So let's take a look at the full before and after real quick. So before, actually no, that's not the before and after. Let's take a look at the full before and after. So before, after. And you can see how you had some of those proportion issues. They were really throwing things off. Big eyes are pretty, but when both eyes are the wrong size, it doesn't feel right, right? And it kind of just makes the drawing feel a little bit like it's something's off, something's not quite right, something doesn't feel right while looking at the character. The same not quite right feeling, and no offense to anyone who actually has these types of different sizes in the face, but if you were talking to someone who actually has an eye size that's different from the other eye, you notice it. We're built to locate symmetry. Our eyes look for symmetry, and not look for symmetry, but they like symmetry in a human face, and when it's slightly off, we notice. So one way I've noticed this is in Star Trek Voyager. One of the actresses, I forget what her name is, B'Elanna. Her eye is really low in one side of her face and really high in the other. So you can see right away that there's a discrepancy in the symmetry, or the horizontal symmetry of her eyes. It sticks out, and I noticed it mostly because I'm a portrait artist. Other people have not noticed it at all. But you notice these things. The eyes are designed to notice them. And so when it comes to drawing, that off feeling, something doesn't feel quite right about my drawing, this is what we're talking about. This is that feeling. And these sizes, the eyes are too close together. Usually when we bring eyes close together, that's how we introduce those two extremes of portraiture. So usually I talk about the two extremes, the elf and the ogre. When we want to draw a deliberately, like I say ogre and elf because they're good caricatures instead of saying ugly and beautiful, so I can avoid insulting anyone. I usually just do this. So an ogre, we would say, has eyes close together, a big nose, and a wide mouth. But we take those exact scales and we turn them upside down, and we use those, that looks wrong, and we use those to guide us to draw the scale for the elf. We end up with something that looks beautiful. So we have a smaller nose, larger eyes, and a smaller mouth. So we're tilting the weight. The larger object is now the eyes, the medium object is now the nose, and the smaller object is the mouth. So we're tilting these things. So this is the triangles of weight distribution when it comes to facial beauty. And that's what I'm talking about when I say when you're drawing eyes and they're really close together, it's cute, but there's like this not quite beautiful look to them. It looks more like creature. And so that's what was happening on a technical level, on a mathematical level in your before, is that the eyes were very close together, like actually close together, numerically close together, because of that excessive size in one of the eyes, and they were disproportionate. And then before, it looks like she's breathing. And then before, you can see the issues with the neck, the eyes, and the chest all kind of not quite balanced with each other. So this is how you get that professional final push into professional when you're drawing. You know, those things that hold you back. You're doing so well with your details. You're doing so well with filling up an entire scene with this is beautiful. This is an amazing piece. But you can see how some of the most skilled artists still struggle with basic fundamentals. Basic fundamentals like measurement, scale, perspective, proportion, anatomy. All of those things are going to hold you back from having that completely all-rounded, professional, proportioned, polished look in your work. So before, after. So that's painting number one. I'm going to do a second one today just to give you guys a little more time. So this one was submitted to the subreddit as well, by the way. This is all free. You guys can submit your art to my subreddit. You can find it on my website, and istabrack.com. And let me just pin that for you guys really quickly. And oh, I should probably put the whole link thingamabob to the message, but that's okay. So if you guys go to istabrack.com and click on the subreddit icon, you can actually find the subreddit to submit your art for critique. I'll probably end up taking a look at it. So this is another piece that was submitted. My issue with it is that you have a bright background and you have a lot of light on the character, but everything else is super dark. Not talking about the skin. Just because she has darker skin doesn't mean that everything must be adjusted to match. So let's correct that a little bit. Not sure what the tolerance I used was, but. And then I'm just deleting the background and separating it from the image. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten up pretty much everything, but I'm going to delete wherever we had the face. I'm going to saturate and lighten up everything. And in this new layer, I am going to delete away wherever we had actual skin tone that was receiving light, so we can get that exact value back. The issue here is that your values were muddy, but I'm trying to paint a dark-skinned character. How do I avoid not using too much shadow? Well, you can do as much shadow as you need to appeal to that required level of shadow required on the face, like the actual shadow of the face. But you don't have to go full black so often. Even African skin doesn't go full black. It's brown, really. I don't know why they're called black. They're just brown people. So like that's really, I'm not sure why we keep misnaming the skin tone. It's brown. Brown does a very different thing than black on the color wheel. And so what I'm doing here is getting rid of that caricaturized skin tone almost that you had, and I'm allowing some of the black back in, but not all of it. You had a lot of black just drowning the whole image, and that's what was creating that muddy look. So this is a bit of a challenging correction to do because of all the layers of tones that I'd have to go through in order to make the skin look like it's actually in this light environment. So what is a light environment? A light environment is the combination of the background, the object, and the light source. And so what we want to do is always respond to the light environment as much as we can. When painting our scenes, we can't just have a character that looks like they're in a dungeon, look like they're also have a bright background. You can't have a character that looks like they're in pitch black, but also give them a beautiful rosy hair clip that looks like it needs all the daylight in order to be visible. That doesn't look right. So if you are going to go for that kind of dungeon light environment, you really need to address that on all elements, meaning the background color of the character needed to be a bit brighter. So now that I did that, I'm going to just delete at the skin some more over here. So let's say that's actually how dark her skin is. And I'm doing my best to kind of transition into the shadow a lot later than you did. So you were full black really early on. I'm trying to just give us more form, meaning more midtones you have, the more information you have. Write that back. So if you don't have a lot of midtones, what happens? You have a lot of nothing. Black and white, excessive black and white in an illustration is zero. It's nil. There's nothing happening here. And so I've tried to reduce some of that black as safely as I can. And then now in a new layer, I'm just going to bring out her skin tone as if she is not in this dungeon environment. Let me show you what I mean by dungeon environment. So if I darkened everything here, it would look a little bit better, but there's still areas where we have no information, excessive use of black. So what I'm going to do now is just let that skin tone have more midtones. She is dark, but not very dark. It's still in the brown range. You know what I mean? It's not black. And I'm just expanding on those midtones a little bit more. The thing with darker skin tones, African skin tones, is that they're mostly highlights. So you want to add your midtones, but you want to keep them on the darker side. But where you were was just like pure black. And that comes from the misnomer, is that you're gonna say black skin, black people, but that confuses growing artists. They think they actually have to go in and use some kind of black in the skin. No, it's brown technically, and that's the color you're starting from. That's the value. That's the crayon color you pick. That's the color you swatch. Brown. And I'm just picking up on some of these beautiful purple lights you picked and letting the cheek get some of that. And I'm not sure why you dropped so dark in the far section. Maybe it was a study and you wanted to turn it into a character, but you really let those values drop too soon for her skin tone, creating that muddy look. Muddy values happen when you just use the wrong contrast because it's darker than the skin can provide. In order to have realistic dark skin, it needs to have red in it. And if you drop to black too soon, that's when you end up with that unrealistic look, that kind of excessive muddiness. So I'm literally having to paint some of this in because when you only have black and white, you have nothing. So I have to paint in these areas where you had nothing. So these were missing areas. These weren't painted. Using black and white excessively is not painting. It's erasing. Write that back to me. And so now we have information. Now we have all of this extra data here on her face that we can actually see and appreciate. So the rest of her face isn't just disappearing into the void. We can actually see some of it. Yes, we're chanting. We're chanting, exactly. Chant with me and watch your art improve. And then I'm going to blend out some of these areas and try to bring in some more highlights. So the highlights on African skin follow this almost U shape, and you can actually use dodge tool for it. So I'm going to duplicate the layer in case I make a mistake. And what I'm doing here is I'm just using that dodge tool to create that U shape of highlights, like an upside down U shape. And that'll really elevate the skin tone, so it actually looks dewy, it looks shiny, and it looks like it can reflect the light properly. And of course I have to color correct because Dodge Tool did the wrong color. So I'm just gonna go in with that highlighter, that purple highlighter you picked, that eggplant color, and I'm gonna use that on in the skin. Sorry, I had a sentence happening in my head that I finished out loud. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes I think a little bit more than I speak. Believe it or not, there's a lot more thought that happens than speech, even though I'd speak this much. You guys witnessed. Usually I don't let that happen on stream. Um, okay, so I'm just adding those highlights in. I'm letting that nose. So look at how much mid-tone we have now. We have so much mid-tone than we had before, and we have more visibility in the skin. And we didn't need to drop so low just to be able to make the darker skin work. That's not the only way to paint skin that's darker. Oh yeah, the purple looks really nice with the flower. You're right. And I'm adding a little bit of that bounce light from the surrounding space, just so that we can show that this light in the room, it's moving around. It's bouncing around. Light doesn't just stay in one spot, causing these super dark ambient occlusions. This isn't even ambient occlusion because it's not jutted against another surface. So we can show the shine in the nose. And some of your blending is actually too, there's no blending. It's not hard, it's too hard, it's not soft enough. You need to start exploring actually blending some of your values. And making sure the nostril is dark. It is supposed to be black. It's one of the only black areas of the face. But I wouldn't let it be that dark that fast. I would kind of make it a transition. So it kind of lets some of those midtones sneak into the nose. Okay. And I'm doing the same exact thing to the edge of the face. I'm letting some of that, kind of like these midtones, just hang out around the chin, hang out around the face. We don't need to drop so dark, so low in the values just to make the face look believable. All right, and then moving on to, let me just double check I didn't mess anything up. Moving on to the neck area. So the neck is showing almost no cast shadow, even though the nose is capable of creating a cast shadow on the rest of the body of the face. Do you see that? So I'm just gonna go ahead and give her just a simple base tone for her hair, and actually I'll leave the cast shadow for her body. And I'm going to let that cast shadow travel a little bit. That's the base tone, okay? And then right after that, you find a shadow value that's going to work for this skin tone. So what you had before was pure black. You need to pick something that has a bit of red in it. So you're cooling down the red. It looks more purple compared to the base. And that's how you pick a shadow color for African skin tone. You don't actually pick black because that's too gray. In the end, when you blend it together, it'll look really weird. And then we're going to blend that. So the way you darken skin And fine shadows of skin is by cooling the red down or cooling the base down, meaning that you're pulling from a red lower in the color picker than higher in the color picker. And then from there, it's really simple. You just follow the face's lead. So you just grab whatever highlighter you used here for the collarbones. Grab whatever shadow you used here for the collarbones. And I'm just going to throw those in. Don't overdo the neck tendons or whatever. Y'all tend to add like really strong tendons in the neck all the time. It's not necessary. We don't actually need to see that many neck muscles unless she's really stressed out like me. We don't need to see all those neck muscles tensed all the time. And then I'm going to get soft brush and just use some of those highlights to illuminate the skin tone. And let the cylinder of the neck pop out a little bit. I have a couple more shadows here and there between the collarbone and a little bit more light around the middle of the chest, wherever we start getting the chest area rising up. So just like a little U shape. And that's all you need. You don't need to over render this area or use too much shadow. For the hair, I'm literally grabbing the background value and using that as the shine, as the actual shine in the hair. I know that her hair is kind of slicked. It's not quite the more rougher curl. So I'm just going to follow your lead. Please don't cancel me. I'm not trying to give a black woman white hair. I'm really not. All right, so I'm adding a little bit of that shine. And then I'm going to exactly the same thing. I'm going to borrow the background value and use that as what is going to illuminate the breast from the far side. All right, so brush stroke number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, until we get to the edge where we've piled up the most brushes to create that bounce light. And there's like not much definition in the outside of the body. It feels like we're missing a lot of the breast line on the edge of the body, the shoulders are kind of asymmetrical. So let's fix some proportion real quick. Actually, before I do that, let me just finish up. I'm going to use this purple highlighter that you had before to kind of create a path of highlight around the most signature areas. Maybe I'll put it on color dodge, see what happens. And I'm going to use it on the arm as well. The arm is kind of missing a lot. And the arm will get some of the bounce light from the shirt. Shouldn't go full black like that. There's no reason for the arm to be completely drowned in black there. I'm going to use the base tone first, and then I'm going to throw in the gray, actually the white of the environment around on a lower degree. And you guys will see the before and after. You'll see how dark it was, how muddy it was, and you'll know what I mean when I say muddy. Okay, so the arm looks a bit more realistic now, and that's just cylinder. That's just like form study. That's just what form studies do. The more you study basic shapes, if you run into them in the wild while you're drawing, you'll be able to render them perfectly. And again, I'm just following your lead with the purple that you picked for her skin tone, and just trying to create a more uniform look to the skin, using a bit of that highlighter there. So do you guys have any questions? What do you think about the jump from analog drawing to digital? What do you mean about the jump? Like me personally, what that felt like, or just society? All right, and then I think I will liquefy now. Oops. Would you use the same methodology while painting, drawing people that have different skin colors, textures? Red devils, gray angels. Would you use the same methodology while painting, drawing people that have different skin colors, textures? I would, yeah, I would. So you're going to have to decide what temperature you're looking at when you're picking those colors for your characters. Sometimes you'll have a cherry red, which means that you're going to have to use a lot of warm highlights and cooler, but not that cool shadows, orangey shadows. If you're using a cooler red for the Red Devil, you're going to be using more of a purpley highlight with white in it and more of a darker purpley, even blue shadow color. So the methodology I'm using here is that I'm not really talking about color complements. I am just trying to show the darker you go in any texture, skin or a ball that's black or anything reflective that's darker colored is going to show more of the highlight. I usually feel more comfortable drawing by hand rather than using a tablet. Then stick to it. If that's how you're creating the most of your art, stick to it. That should be how you continue. If digital is just not something you can adjust to, you shouldn't feel pressured to do it. There's people who build an entire fan base on nothing but traditional. And you shouldn't feel like you have to like use Procreate or anything like that. If you're not comfortable with it, you're just not comfortable. So right now what I'm going to do is try to actually, I'm going to try to keep her, so her shoulder being that high is fine, but it felt like it was completely dislocated. So I'm going to raise, lower that shoulder, and I'm going to raise this one. Okay. And I'm going to raise the other one too. I know she's like leaning and doing kind of like a sassy type of a gesture. Maybe she's a know-it-all. Maybe she's a kind of a confident character. I'm not trying to caricaturize Black women. Please don't take me out of context. But that high shoulder, low other shoulder just means she's posing, you know, she's very confident, but also very sweet. Okay, so I need her to have another shoulder so that her shoulder doesn't look like it's been completely cut off. So see that before, after. But yeah, if you feel like drawing digitally is reducing your skill output, if it's just uncomfortable, it's making life really just not enjoyable and art not enjoyable, just keep drawing traditionally. But if you do want to get better at digital, don't use digital for your creative work. Use digital to just learn the ropes. Use digital for a little while to draw lines, to draw shapes, to squiggle, to draw random things until you get comfortable with the dashboard, until you feel like, hey, yeah, this is a tool I can use for my more serious creative work. And I'm just gonna give the sleeves some size. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here, but with the paintbrush, since not everything can be done with Liquify. So now I'm going to separate that area here, and I'm going to give the sleeve some extra width so it's not like skin tight and awkward, because it feels like everything was kind of posed awkwardly. And then I'm also going to finally add in the last sleeve, the sleeve in the back, and that arm. And then you guys will see the before and after. You'll see how you kind of went a little bit too dark, and it felt like it wasn't quite the same character and the skin tone each time. So I'm just going to use a random value here to show the other arm, just because the other arm really was disappearing. And I'm just retrieving that value back there. So one more little fix. It feels like that arm is still kind of not quite present enough, that far shoulder. So but for me, when I first started using tablets, it was very weird. It was a very weird experience, to say the least. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to draw comfortably. And then I just kept doodling, messing around with it. Eventually, I didn't realize I was actually drawing a whole face. And then I kept trying, and then I kind of figured out the tools, kept trying to figure out how to control where my reference is, and it all just started to work. So give digital a chance. The skill is the same. Your skill hasn't changed. It's just that your access to your skill is interrupted a little bit because, you know, you're using a whole new device. It doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't feel familiar. Being close to your drawing, holding your sketchbook, tilting your sketchbook, not worrying about the touch screen going off every second. Yeah, I can see why you're more comfortable with traditional, but you can develop familiarity and more and the same amount of skill you can represent with digital if you just give it a bit more time. Okay, so I pretty much am done. Let's take a look at where it was before because I'm almost out of time. So before, after. So you can see how before it was just drowning in black. There was really not much to see. There was not much to look at. And now that I can, I'm just going to saturate her shirt to match because there was all this black. There wasn't much color to saturate. It can only just go to gray from there. So I can saturate now. Saturation requires midtones. There is no saturation in gray values at all. So write that back. Chant it with me. Saturation requires midtones. And so I'm saturating a lot. And you can see this is one of the bigger benefits of digital. You can adjust all this stuff. So I'm oversaturating, and I'm going to reduce saturation a little bit so that we can get that purple shirt back, and it can actually read as a purple shirt this time. And you can see the purple coming through. I'm also going to use a bit of pink on some of the brighter parts of the purple just to show the color variation with light. That's also another quick trick for you guys. And I'm going to make sure that's deleted. I love the way you did this little section. It's really well done. You made that shine of that little piece of jewelry actually make sense. So there's still so much more to do, but I think this is a good jump from where it was. Way too much black for something that really was not requiring that much. Even now, if you were to brighten it, it'll brighten uniformly. So it's not even going to be the same level of shadow. If you tried to mess with levels here, you're going to get this really silhouetted look. And over here, if you do, the silhouette will take a little bit of time before it's visible, as you can see, because we have a uniform midtone presence. So it's less easy to meddle with. While drawing digital, I feel like I'm trying to bend my head and my hand is refusing to cooperate. Like I'm about to tilt my head around my monitor. I see what you mean, because you want to tilt your sketchbook. I think that's exactly why that's happening. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming to my new channel and supporting the new channel. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to submit your work for critique, you can on my subreddit. All you got to do is go to istabrack.com. It's pinned on the chat, and click on the subreddit icon right here. That'll take you to my subreddit. My masterclass, which teaches you how to draw portraits from scratch. You don't need to be good at drawing in order to use this masterclass. You can just go into it if you're new to art completely, because I teach the fundamentals, baseline fundamentals. I teach you how to render a sphere and turn a sphere into a portrait. That's literally what I do. This portrait here was once a sphere, and I show you how to and where to put all of those brush strokes to make a portrait look realistic. So you can get all of this from a masterclass at half off. It's currently half off for the summer. And I am running a community challenge on the subreddit, so you can go to the subreddit and click on the subreddit icon. That'll take you to the community challenge information. Thank you guys for hopping in today. I really appreciate it. Bye, guys.